The following is brought to you by PaulAkers.net.
Hey everyone, so this morning in the Lean Maniacs chat, there was a discussion about leadership. Dave Lalonic heard my comments about it and said, Paul, you should really do something on leadership under 5 minutes. So here you go. This is my take on leadership. What is leadership? Leadership is when people want to follow your lead. So I have to reflect on why I followed people's lead. So in the chat, I told this story. When I was 17 years old, I went to work for Bob Taylor. And in about a 6-month period of time, Bob had put me in charge of basically the operation there. And I was a young 17-year-old kid. Everywhere Bob put me, I kept improving everything to the point where I took over Bob's job of actually stringing the guitar, setting the action, and doing the final, and putting the guitar in the case and in the box to ship it out. That's what Bob did, and Bob gave me that responsibility after 6 months. So I had worked myself through pretty much everything in the plant in a 6-month period of time, and he gave me that leadership role. And I didn't know how to be a leader. I was a Boy Scout, but I didn't know how to be a leader. And basically there was a little bit of an uprising where people hated me. And I had 35-year-olds that were reporting to a 17-year-old. It didn't seem to make any sense. And I'll never forget this for the rest of my life. Bob took me aside, put me in his little tiny office that was no bigger than a couch. I mean, it was barely 2 people could fit in there. And Bob said, Paul, basically, you have potential and you can do this, but you're not going to be successful doing it the way you're doing it. You got to be a little more patient with people, and you've got to change your dynamics. And I will never forget that conversation for the rest of my life. I can literally transport myself back over 40 years, 40-some years, 43 years, 44 years, to that little office and looking at Bob Taylor and him telling me those words. Now let's fast forward. One of the exceptional leaders at FastCap is Lucas. Everyone knows Lucas. He does great videos. He's awesome. But Lucas wasn't always a great leader. Lucas required me nurturing him for years and years. I can remember countless times, and Lucas would confirm that, bringing him into the conference room, stand-up conference room, we didn't sit down, and I say, Lucas, if you want to be a leader, you need to approach it like this. You cannot tolerate all these people being wishy-washy about this. You have to stand up, you have to face these issues directly and immediately. And he said, but it's uncomfortable and I don't like doing it. And what I'm saying here is, it requires careful tutelage and nurturing to learn how to be a leader. It doesn't just happen automatically. So what did that look like when I was working with Lucas? Very much what Bob Taylor did to me. Brought me in his office and sat down and said, hey, we've got to confront this issue. So I'll give you a perfect example. Lucas would come up to me and say, Bob and Mary, they don't get along. There's some real tension out there and I don't know what to do about it. And I said, Lucas, it's easy. Just bring him in here and let's talk to him right now. Lucas would say, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I said, why not? He goes, then they're going to not like me. Then they're going to think I'm the bad guy. I said, Lucas, they're going to think you're the bad guy whether you do it or not. You just got to confront these issues. And so we bring him in there and I'd say, so Mary, what's the problem? Well, Bob said something that I didn't like the way he said it. Bob, what did you say? This. What did you mean? Mary, do you see he didn't mean that? Oh, I didn't know because I thought you meant that. Bob, do you see how you could have said that the way you said that? Mary could take it that way? Yeah, I do see that now. Mary, so you realize that Bob really wants to help you and that he wasn't trying to be mean or derogatory or snide with you. Yeah, I do see that now. Bob, you see how careful you need to be with what you say, because we're a team here, we're a family, and we've got to get along, we've got to be productive for our customer. We don't have time for all this fighting. We're here to serve one another. And Bob, you have to be careful the way you do it. And Mary, do you like it the way Bob helps you with stuff? I love Bob. Bob's a great worker. Bob, you see how important it is that you and Mary work together? Yeah. And I'd say, all right, so can we agree that we're going to go out there and work hard together and be very careful with the way we say things and make sure we respect one another? Yeah, totally, I get it. Okay, great, go. So they would go out of the office and Lucas and I would sit there and he goes, Lucas, so what do you think? He goes, wow, that worked. That really worked well. I see what you did there. And I said, can you do it? And he said, well, yeah, but it's kind of hard. It's a little awkward. I'm not used to doing that. I said, well, passo per passo, step by step. We're going to keep doing this. I literally did that with Lucas no less than 50 times, maybe even 100 times. And every time he grew a little bit and he learned different skills on how to deal with different situations. This is what leadership looks like. This is what leadership training looks like. This is what you have to do as a leader. Carefully develop, nurture your people. And there is no other way. It's a methodical process of dealing with every issue immediately and not sweeping things under the rug. That's how you do leadership. So one more Bob Taylor story to finish off this whole little thing on leadership. About 10 years ago, I had lunch with Bob. I went down to El Cajon, California, and we drove to a little Mexican restaurant. We sat there and we kind of reminisced about the past, when I started as a young kid at 17 years old working for Bob. And I was very fortunate. My business went well. It grew into a pretty big success. We're selling in 40 countries and everything. And I said to Bob, I remember sitting there again, just like yesterday, Bob, did you see in me then that I would have the potential to lead the way I have? And he said, yes. And he told this story. He said, this is what leaders do. First, they take responsibility for themselves. And then they take responsibility for things. So they're ready to clock out. They notice the lights are on. They walk over and they turn the lights out. They get up every morning. They brush their teeth. They make it to work on time. That's taking responsibility for themselves. Then they take responsibility for things. They see the lights on, they turn the light out. Then they take responsibility for more people. They see that Mary might not be doing a process right, and they walk over and they help Mary to do the process right, or teach or train Mary. Then they're walking out the next day and they see the lights are on and maybe the faucet's leaking in the kitchen. And they say, okay, put it on my list. Tomorrow I'm gonna work on the faucet, get the lights turned out, make sure there's signage for different things that need to be done, more things. So first Bob said they take responsibility for themselves, then they take responsibility for things, then more people, then more things, then more people, then more things. And this is how you become a leader. And he told this story, and I think Bob won't mind if I tell the story. He said, one time, a guy walked up to me and said, Bob, what can I help you with? He says, I need a custom guitar program. I need it perfect so people can go on the website, put together any kind of guitar they want, everything happens, boom, done. And he said, okay, no problem. The guy walked off. 6 months later, an effective custom guitar program was built for Taylor Guitars. So this is what leadership is. When people see a problem and they take responsibility for it and they make it happen. And these stories and these concepts are so powerful in your leadership journey. Take responsibility for yourself, things, more people, more things. Rinse and repeat and never stop. And I was nurtured by many people to become the leader that I am today. One of my favorite ones is Joel Netlin, our CFO. For 18 years, Joel very carefully nurtured me on how to be a CEO of a company. I didn't know anything about doing those things. And countless other people who influenced me on the way I led people. The bottom line is, it takes time. Paso por paso in Espanol, step by step. So one of the questions that came up from Daniel is he has a guy that was really doing really well in 2-second improvements. And is he your next Lucas? Is he his next Lucas? And I thought to myself, Daniel, wait, this takes time. Lucases don't just appear. Lucases are developed because you spent the time developing their leadership skills, seeing their deficiencies and working on those carefully and honing them. Now, why do people follow me, per se? And I thought about this as Dave asked me, and I'm coming up on 5 minutes here, so I'm going to end this. Why do people follow me? Because I think they believe genuinely that I'm not in it for myself. I'm not doing this because I'm trying to get something out of it. I'm sincerely doing it because I want the best for them. And I think if you want to be a great leader and you want to develop great leaders, it must have this nucleus, this underpinning. Are you doing this because you love another human being, because you want the best for them? I remember when I was working with Lucas, I always thought to myself, this young man is extraordinary, and I can't wait to see what he's going to be like in 2 years and 3 years from now. And now you see Lucas, you see what he's doing. It's extraordinary. Do you really want the best for people? I believe if you do that and you spend the time, you will be a great leader and you will develop great leaders. Thanks a lot.
Brought to you by paulakers.net, where you'll find all Paul's books and lean resources for free, including the new 2-second lean play app, like Audible, but free. To listen to Lean is Lean on the 2-second lean play app at paulakers.net.